right, kids, today we're going to be continuing our cooking technique videos. We're going to be talking about roasting and baking, which are exactly the same things. They just are different terms for different things. A roasted prime rib sounds a lot better than a roasted cake, and a baked cake sounds a lot better than a baked prime rib, but they are both exactly the same. Coming up to this, in a lot of the videos that we have done a saute, we've done a steam. The product has been in direct contact with the heat source, either like in poach, it was in the warm liquid, or on a saute, it was in the pan, like this. Today, the roast is going to be a little bit different in that we are going to put it in the environment, come down here, in the environment that is warm. So what is happening in here is the ambient heat that exists in the oven is going to be cooking the product. The heat is down here. It's warmed up all of the air in the oven that stayed enclosed, and that's what's going to roast or bake. I'm not going to bake any cookies or anything like that today because I'm pretty sure the very first thing you ever did was bake a cookie, and we don't need to do that. So today we're going to roast a pork loin and then make a little Creole sauce to go with it. And I have some andouille sausage, onions, peppers, celery, garlic, and some tomatoes. And we'll make that sauce in the pan when this gets done. The reason I'm searing it off is to help develop some of the what's called crust on the outside and get a little bit more of that fond in the pan so that when we make the sauce, we still have the flavor of the roast. There is something I do want to talk about with roasting that we haven't sort of talked about yet, and that is the internal temperature of our product. Up until now, we have done relatively small, tender products that cook quickly. We're now on to tender products that are larger. This pork roast here is about 2 pounds. Prime ribs get up to be about 20 pounds, and then there's even things that are called a steamship round, which is the whole back half of a steer. That's 175 pounds. You can roast all those things. Since this is a small roast, I can sear it off in the pan. A bigger roast I would sear off in the oven, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But what I want to talk about is the internal temperature. Up until now, we've talked about feeling the product because it was small. Here, if we try to feel that, it's going to be well done in some places and not well done in the other. So we're going to have to work with our thermometers. And I have 2 types of thermometer here. The little bimetal probe thermometer like we use in school. And then the other one, which is about the best 20 bucks I ever spent on a kitchen gadget, is this electronic thermometer. And I'll get to that in a second. Those of you that have done ServSafe, remember that the internal temperature of a pork roast has to be at least 145 degrees for it to be safe. We're going to cook it to about that and then pull it out and let it rest. And what we're looking for is a medium well temperature. Chef, how do I know what I'm looking at? The thermometer tells me, but I don't know what that means. So, your internal temperatures are in a range. If you want something to be rare, you're going to shoot for about 135 degrees. You want medium rare, 140, 145. You want medium, 145, 150. You want medium well, 155. You want well done, 160, 165. Okay? Those are our finished internal temperatures. And when we get this thing in the oven, and it's going to take a little while, when we come back to pull it out, we're going to talk about letting it rest. Now, you see that there's this fat and juice developing in the pan. I don't want my roast to sit in that. So I put it on those little pieces of aluminum foil that I made rings out of to keep the product out of the moisture that is inside the pan. I'm going to take my temperature probe and put it in the thickest part of the pork loin. It's about halfway through, so it's down there in the middle. And you can see here that the temperature is going down, down, down on this side. That means right now it's about 51 degrees inside there. I have set it at 145. So that means when the internal temperature of this pork loin hits 145, that machine will go beep, 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 beep. And I'll know it's time to pull it out and let it rest. And we'll talk about that when we get to that part. So let me throw this in the oven. Can you hear Abner playing with the pig? He loves the pig. Which is appropriate because we're about to eat some pig. So I put that roast up on the aluminum foil to keep it out of the juice. Come over here for a second and let's take a quick look at this. You probably Alright, so we decided that Abner was making way too much noise and that you probably didn't hear anything I said. What I was saying is that we have these roasting pans, different rigs like this. I'm using a small one because it's just the two of us in here. I don't need a big roast. But if you have guests over, you may want something larger. The idea is to get something, either those aluminum foil rings or a rack or a roasting rack, to help get the product up out of the juice and the fat that are going to form in the bottom of the pan. Now let's take a quick look into the oven, and then we're going to go away for a little while because the bulk of roasting and baking is passive. You're not going to be doing a lot of action. The oven has to just do its thing. It's going to take a while, and like I said, when this gets to 145 degrees, which will probably be in about an hour, it'll go beep, 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 and we'll come back and see you then. Take a break.
The ocean, wave the sea. One day those waters